Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Real Estate Matters. For over 11 years, the voice of real estate in Flagler County in Palm Coast, Florida. I'm Toby Tobin. I'm the publisher of GoToby.com. I'm a contributing writer to the Palm Coast Observer, and I'm a Florida licensed realtor with the Landmark Group at Compass. Co-host Anna Maria Long is home with some sick kids, so she's on the phone. Good morning, Anna Maria.
Good morning, Toby and David.
Good morning. And I have a guest here. Actually, I'm the guest. It's his studio. But David Ayers is the CEO, president of Flagler Broadcasting, newly appointed. Did you do a press release or anything on that?
I don't know. Did we? It was like a year or so ago. Maybe not, but we should. Well, too late now.
Yeah,
That's out of the bag.
You should have released this on a show that has more listeners.
Titles, you know. It's what you do more than what your title is.
Anyway, we're all here thanks to our lead sponsor, Veranda Bay. It's a private developing community of lots and luxury homes on the Intercoastal Waterway with a Flagler Beach address, featuring custom homes by Olson Homes, AR Homes by Arthur Ruttenberg, ICI Homes, and Hulbert Homes. Newly opened sections feature homes by Toll Brothers and Dreamfinders. And if you want to learn more, go to their website. It's verandabay.com. We're also sponsored by the Home Builders Association, local Flagler County edition, and that's where Anna Maria works. And the Hammock Community Church. This is where you can find me Sunday mornings at 11. I usually go to the 11 o'clock service. Well, if you happen to show up this week, though, it'll be the 9 o'clock service. It's on A1A in the Hammock, a mile and a half north of the toll bridge. So we're not even, barely a third of the way through the month. So stats don't mean an awful lot at this point of the month because they still change a lot. But I will give you where we are as of this morning. And we're recording this on Friday the 10th, the day before you hear it on the radio. 62 homes sold, single-family homes sold through the Flagler County MLS with a median price, now sit down before I say this, $394,495. And that's compared to a year ago, a total of 196 homes were sold at $359,500.
Moving on up.
Yeah, we seem to be. So homes pending, 303 homes pending. The median price of the pending sales is $373,000. That's down a little bit from last week. So we may start to see some softening, but it is that slow time of the year, get into the fourth quarter. It usually doesn't affect prices as much as it affects volume. So the Gindex, down from 4.9 in July to 4.2. That's the ratio between homes listed for sale and those that are pending. It's a number that I invented several years ago in honor of Bobby Ginn, who helped put Palm Coast on the map back in the early 2000s. The 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 6.35, and that's kind of on the low end of the range that it's been in over the last year. So now let's move into news. Anna Maria, last week we talked about the fact that the Home Builders Association had filed, you had just filed the lawsuit against the city of Palm Coast. And the lawsuit argues that the city of Palm Coast had raised their impact fees too much. And it's not an argument of the validity of impact fees, the necessity of impact fees, but it was just they didn't follow the rules. They didn't follow the state constitution and how they...
Right.
Yeah.
Not only too much in the case of extraordinary circumstances, but the Florida Impact Fee Act itself was violated on all three fee studies in multiple ways, and the fee studies were very disingenuous and gave our city council bad information.
I have a question.
And therefore the fees were,
I have a question for you, Anna Maria, because I heard last week's show where you said that the consulting company the city hired and basically, weren't the sharpest tool. You said their math was flawed that even a fifth grader could have done. I'm kind of quoting you there. What role did the consulting company have, and what was the math that was so far off that caused the city council to believe it and take action based on that faulty math?
Yeah, so they do all the calculations, and the city council has to, basically go off of that. They're supposed to be the expert. And so on the fire study, they incorporated the cost for the existing fire personnel as well as the new what we will need from now to 2035. And the Florida Impact Fee Act explicitly prohibits that. They did the same thing on parks. They took existing capital expenses, so all the parks that we already have, and created an amount per person for that, which is somewhere around $420, $430 per person. And they took all the parks that they want to have between now and forever, and they divided that up amongst the amount of people they want to have in the next 10 years and put an amount per person on that. So totally fine to charge that future amount, but they cannot charge that past amount that's already been paid for, that fire personnel amount. Those people's capital expenses have already been paid for. There's double charges. The law explicitly states you can't do that.
The impact fee consultants play an interesting role. They're the shill, if you will. They give they basically give comfort to the city council. They can say, well, it's what the consultant said. But I would challenge anybody to find a consultant that recommended a reduction in impact fees.
Absolutely.
And that then got hired again the next time around. It's not the way the system works. And in a previous, I was on an input panel for the previous round of the park impact fee study, and they put in their calculations the cost of acquiring land for parks that were projected to be needed. And if you go back over history, the city hardly ever has to pay for land. They usually extract the land from the developer. And they say the developer will approve your project, but you've got to give us 5 acres for a park.
And that happened in this study again as well. It also included much more land than what is necessary for the next 10 years. I think it's like 3 or 4 acres that are actually needed, because also the study says that we have an excess of parkland already. We only need 3 to 4 acres, I believe it is, to get to what we need to accomplish their goals for that 10-year period. And it's overreaching. The transportation study clearly didn't take into account the road capacity. We added the percentage of capacity each road that they want to expand adds. It's my personal opinion, I don't know if this is true or not, it's my personal opinion that the transportation consultant never actually drove through any of our roads or looked at them, because if they had, I don't think that they would have made some of the recommendations that they made.
So how does it
again though go?
So you file the lawsuit. So where does it go from there? Does it go to, okay, let's sit down and see if we can negotiate this, or what court would it go to? What judge would it go to?
So it's filed in the Flagler County courts. I don't believe it's been assigned to a judge at this time. From this point, our attorneys will handle it. Where the Flagler Home Builders Association and the city we still work together in our regular capacity. There's no bad blood. I've talked to many city council members and staff, and made it known this is not personal, this is principle, and they are operating on the same belief, and they're going to work that out. But as I understand it, the city attorneys, the city's law firm, I don't believe it's going to be the city attorney himself, will now need to respond to the lawsuit.
Okay.
So each section of the very lengthy lawsuit. And for listeners, please go to flaglerhva.com/fair fees everything that I'm mentioning here is spelled out, including the actual documents and clips from the documents so you can see what I'm talking about. And, you don't have to believe me. Look and decide for yourself.
And in the meantime, the new fees have gone into effect, and which means the builders have to pay the new fees to get permits today, but they are paying them now under protest.
That is what has been recommended by our attorney, yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let's move on.
It will make it easier upon prevailing.
Let's move on to something funner, more fun. Marineland is going through a bankruptcy auction. That sounds like fun, doesn't it?
Sound very fun.
So anyway, Marineland is set for a bankruptcy auction in later October, and the hearing is scheduled for the 27th. But a stalking horse bid has been accepted from the Hudson Companies. That's a Jacksonville-based development company that specializes in building typically large communities, single-family homes and townhomes and apartments. And the bid price from the stalking horse bid was $3.5 million. And stalking horse bid means that any other bids have to at least meet that minimum, that you can and would be encouraged to bid more, but you can't. Don't come in with a $2 million bid.
What is the appraised value of that land? It's oceanfront prime land. 3.5 doesn't sound like much.
Well, the property appraiser's website lists the true value, which is never the real sale value. It's typically about 80% of the real marketable value, but it listed it at 3.376, I think.
Okay, but still, that doesn't seem like much for
a
prime piece of land.
3.75. That's the
0.752834.
Yeah. I think that the appraisal is not a science. They use proven analytical methods.
So what's going to happen? It'll be the end of Marineland Dolphin Adventure, and it'll be condominiums.
It probably will. Actually, the rest of Marineland's a very odd town. It has barely more residents than it has members on the city council. And there are more dolphin that live there than people.
Doesn't sound like a terrible place, honestly.
I've heard they've been downsizing. I've heard that the owners have got like 3 dolphins there, and they don't see a happy ending here. So,
well, according to there are a couple of articles, or one I saw from one of the TV stations in Jacksonville, another one Flagler Live this morning, and one of those had I don't have the number in my notes, but it's 11 or 13, 15, somewhere in that range, and the agreement, the bid arrangement is whoever buys the property has to agree to relocate the dolphins within 90 days.
I would love to see it stay as an attraction. It's got such a history to it, and but business is business.
Well, I got a few more points to make on that, but we've got to take a quick break. Don't go away, folks. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Ken Belshie at Veranda Bay, inviting you to see over 40 new, never-released home sites. Phase 1 sold out in record time, so don't miss your chance on Phase 2. All home sites have planned water access with resort-style amenities. These are big, estate-sized lots. Schedule your private showing now at verandabay.com.
On the water, beyond belief, Veranda Bay.
Well, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for staying with us. Thanks to our prime sponsor, Veranda Bay. I've got David Ayers, the station manager, not filling in for Anna Maria, who's on the phone. But I just don't like to sit alone in the studio. So David's filling in on the other microphone while Anna Maria is calling in from home. But we've been talking about Marineland and how that the company that owns marine land and operates marine land now, is based in Mexico, and they filed for bankruptcy back in the spring, and it's going to result in the sale of the marine land dolphin adventure facility at the north end of the county on A1A. And it's, David, it probably is going to mean that there won't be a dolphin adventure anymore. The reason they're in bankruptcy is because it's not a good business model anymore, at least not at that location. But there was the property around it is owned by Jim Jacoby, his company. He's out of Atlanta, and he's owned it. He actually owned it for a while, sold it to Centex for several million, bought it back from Centex for just a few million, and it's almost all of the rest of Marineland other than the property that's owned by the University of Florida. And they actually had filed some years ago for a master plan community there that would have townhomes, would have a hotel along the beach. And I don't know whether it would make sense that whoever buys the dolphin facility might entertain talking to Jacoby and putting one big master plan together. I don't know whether that'll happen or not, but it's likely to be developed. And the county's already moving water and sewer. Well, the water's already up there, not enough of it for an expanded community, but they're expanding the sewer line north on A1A from the up to Bing's Landing. So that'll have to be expanded because you're not going to have there's a very primitive facility on site right now that can't support any more than what's there. So, Anna Maria, we had this on the agenda for last week too, the 5 million American Dream.
Yeah,
and you
the
were
most
struck
depressing news.
Yeah, because
I would love to talk about it.
It affects folks at your end of the age spectrum more than it does folks at my end of the age spectrum. So, but owning a home, raising kids, retiring comfortably, throwing a vacation or two, it's never been cheap, but some new reports indicate that for today's millennials, that's going to end up over their lifetime costing around $5 million. So how does that make you feel?
It also reports that, the report also says we're probably never going to have. It makes me feel validated because it does feel like we are never catching up. And yes, graduating college into a recession was, probably a good indicator of how things were going to go. And looking here that, Investopedia added up the estimated lifetime costs of 8 milestones that Americans most often associate with the dream, which we're calling them milestones, but I mean, basic things that humans want, I think, retirement, healthcare, home ownership, raising 2 children. That's some people want it, some people don't. I have 3. Sending them to college, or whatever, post-high school education, weddings, cars, annual vacations, and pets. And that's now costing $5 million. But in 2024, the median household income was $84,000, which is $2.8 million over a lifetime. So just over half of what it costs.
I could never figure out from the article, though, Anna Maria, whether they were both including. I'm quite certain that the $5 million estimate includes inflation, and I'm not sure that the $2.8 million does. But that's only
because that would be the current. The $2.8 million would be current.
Yeah, that's only the skeptical me.
So, Anna Maria, you're a mom. You got some kids there. What advice do you give them as they grow up and head out into the world?
Well, I bought a really big house with my mom together, so that knowing that we are in a multi-generational household, being prepared that we are not going to be, pushing them out the door at 18, so that they can have an opportunity to stay and save money. We know that me and my husband know that we're not going to be empty nesters when they are each turning 18, and the youngest are out the door, I recommend that I'll be recommending to them that they go to trade school, even if they are going to go to college, because if they pick up a trade, they'll be able to pay their way through college while working a career. And to be frugal with things like weddings and cars, not buying a brand new car and doing a used car that is in great condition, and making some good choices there. But, to still take the vacation, and if they want children, have the children, and prioritize what they actually want in life. When I talk to kids going into, like, the school system and things like that, and I ask what they want to do, I don't ask them what they want to do. I ask them what they want their life to look like. And I work backwards from there.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want your day-to-day to look like?
Is there, like new technology ways because obviously, buying a home is the biggest investment a lot of people will ever make in their life. And like you say, you get the equity grows and that's an important thing for young families starting out to be able to afford to buy a home. But
at the same time, though, the economy, the way it's headed, and particularly with housing costs outstripping the income increases, we're really turning our middle class and more into a rental class rather than a home ownership class. And so somewhere we've got to invent some other way for them to accumulate wealth over their lifetime. And I don't have any really good ideas.
Is there any way, because it's the cost of houses, the way we build them right now traditionally, but is there any technology on the horizon where homes just won't cost so much because they're built more efficiently, built well, but not with...
Well, it's a very, very complex problem, and one of the reasons is that building codes and building architectural guidelines and such are very much at the local level. You can build a house in Flagler Beach that you couldn't build in Palm Coast, or you could build one in the Mondex, or have one. You could have a mobile home in some communities and not in others. So, for any overarching authority to say, you've got to, you can 3D print a home now, but in most jurisdictions, the building codes don't accept that because they've never even thought of it. They've never even contemplated. And the same is true. The factory-built homes are probably the best answer for affordability, but factory-built homes have such a stigma attached to them.
But is there equity in that? Like a mobile home, there's no equity. It's like, it's worth less the day after you buy it.
But if you're on the land, if you have the land, there's equity in the land alone.
I think that if we continue, I think we need to continue to look at construction methods that'll hold down the increase in building costs. But I think we have to look at the financing aspect. And one of the thoughts I have is, you mentioned trailer parks or mobile home communities. That's a wonderful financial model for the owner of the park, because you own the mobile home, but you don't own the land. You pay rent on the land. It's a land lease. Well, imagine doing that same concept, but with a real home built on a concrete slab. Just like any other community, where you would buy the home, but not buy the lot. A ready-to-build lot in one of these new communities, they're running $120,000 each. Mm-hmm. So you could take let's just pick $100,000 off the price that you have to finance with a mortgage and qualify with a mortgage. Then you own the home. It's a 99-year land lease, so it still gets taxed. I checked with Jay Gardner. It gets taxed and treated as if it were real property. So you pay property taxes, not a tag fee like you do on a mobile home. And it's an interesting concept. You'd still have to pay several $100s a month rent, but there are people that pay homeowners association fees too. So,
but it would also help people to qualify for the mortgage. And a lot of folks are complaining about how close together some of the new houses are and things like that. Well, first of all, if that's what somebody wants, that's where they'll buy. But secondly, it's the cost of land that is one of the things that contributes to the high cost of housing. So if you can reduce the lot size and still build the home that you want, then you are able to reduce the cost of that house. So it can be beneficial.
Well, that's what we need is some more creativity in the industry to, help these young families that are, they're solid, they deserve, they work hard, they earn, and they should reap the rewards of
we don't need garages. Like, garages are not a requirement of life. Yet in Palm Coast, you have to have one.
They reduce the number of storage units, though, to some degree. So we gotta wrap it up here very quickly. We've talked the last couple of weeks about the Flagler County Residential Development Map that you can find on gotoby.com. And Flagler Live wrote a nice article about it just a week ago. And since that article went out, the map has been viewed over 6,000 times. So it's really catching on. Be sure you check it out on gotoby.com and bookmark the page, because that link will always take you to the latest version of the map. You want to wrap
Ready
it up?
For the wrap up?
Yeah, why don't you wrap it up?
Video podcasts of Real Estate Matters are now available on gotoby.com. Click on podcasts on the top navigation bar. If you have a question or suggestion for Real Estate Matters or gotoby.com,
reach out to me at 386-931-7124 or email me at toby@gotoby.com. I'm Toby Tobin, and I approve this show.